to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson. Here. Trustee Doro.
Here.
Trustee Myers. Here. Trustee Walschlager. Here. Trustee Ledke. Here. Trustee Connor.
Here.
President Pfannerstill.
Here. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody that would like to speak in public comments? Our first item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve the board minutes of the June 22nd meeting and the special village board minutes of the July 1st meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve those meeting minutes on both meetings. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is a consideration of a motion to approve vouchers for payments. This is in the amount of $834,991.76.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers for payments of $834,991.76.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payment of the vouchers.
I have questions.
What was yours?
Hey, Ryan, this is Ann. I have a question on the impact fee expenses that for the three-deck mower for roughly $54,000. Is that the one that we approved was it last year?
No, it was in the 2020 budget. It's Public Works brought it forward. We're using impact fees for that. It's a new piece of equipment to replace some other mowers.
And three-deck mowers at what, one on each side and one in the back? That's a lot of money. It popped out at me. But it's under impact fees again, why?
That's just where we have the money for it. So you can use impact fees if you have something that is a new piece of equipment. So Public Works found that this three-deck mower, I believe, can mow our entire village in 2 days versus the equipment we have now would take all week. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes, that is correct. And that three-deck mower, it cut out a part-time, a summer help, if you recall. So we can get the parks mowed and all of our village owned properties done a day faster.
Did we get rid of or sell something then?
We are in the
For a
midst
couple
of selling a 70-inch zero-turn mower, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That was it.
Anybody else? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
The motion is carried. The next items that we have are considerations of actions related to licenses and permits. The first being bartenders' licenses. I'll read the list. It's Jada Lipinski, Amy Ruck, Daniel Ward, Lauren Richards, Cassandra Schley, Carol Schmidt, and Robert Barris III.
I'll make a motion to approve the bartender's licenses as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the licenses as read for bartender's operator's license. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those will be granted. Then we have a temporary operator's license for Donna Doro.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary operator's license for Donna Doro.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That license will be granted. And then we have temporary Class B beer, wine license, and street use permit. This is for Donate Life of Wisconsin at 122 East Capitol Drive, Palmer's Steakhouse tent event, date of Sunday, August 30th, 2020.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that temporary Class B beer and wine license and the street use permit. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. That will be granted as well. The next item on our agenda is a consideration of a motion to disallow an insurance claim by a Town of Merton resident.
So this item on the agenda, on August 8th, 2019, there was a fire in the town of Merton that we responded to with mutual aid. Our fire department determined the best location to attack the fire would be putting our large ladder truck in a neighbor's driveway, and they put the clamps down in the driveway to balance the weight. Those clamps cracked several pieces of concrete during the fire. It was submitted recently from that person who had the damage, and our insurance company is recommending denial because there was no negligence. Under state statute, state law, we can do everything in our power to fight a fire, even if it does cause damage and we're not held liable. So our insurance company denies it. If the board would take other actions to approve it, insurance would not pay for that, the village would then pay for it.
Ryan, do we have, this is Ann, do we have any
Yeah.
idea how much the damage would cost to fix?
We don't. I don't recall seeing anything in regards to that. I think it's just 4 or 5 different squares of concrete.
Okay. Is there a certain, in the ordinance or the ruling, is there a certain amount of time? Because I noticed it's been for, what, 10, 11 months since it happened? And,
It has. There's, I believe 6 months is kind of what our insurance has said, but again, even if it would have been filed earlier, it still would have been recommended for disallowance because we have to take any and all efforts to try and extinguish the fire. I don't know if he tried to submit on the actual fire, if they went that route for that insurance,
yeah,
but I don't know if we're the last resort of trying to get some kind of fix from this. And again, this is not in the village of Heartland, it is the town of Merton on, I believe, northern Dancer Road.
All right. Chief, can you give any, can you tell us, can you provide any input to the board on, and myself, I would like to know, I know if this happened in my driveway, if the house next door was gonna burn my house down, absolutely, I want anything being done. If someone's life was in danger, I want anything being done. I'm just wondering how out of control was this fire that it necessitated? I just feel somewhat bad for the homeowner, so I'm just wondering what exactly happened.
Right. I had to kind of go back and look. I wasn't at that fire scene, to tell you the truth, but we were requested by Merton. It was a 2-story home from what I gathered in the report, and we just positioned our ladder to protect the other structures and to actually keep the fire from spreading into the house more. It was a garage, started like a garage fire, I guess, so.
Do you have the direction of Merton?
Yes,
Fire department?
correct, yeah, they were.
Not our decision, it was their
Correct.
discretion to put us
It was
on there.
actually, I believe it was actually Stone Bank. Their chief was there and in charge, and he's the one that told us where to position the ladder truck, so.
I'm gonna ask more, who was the commander? What department had the commander in charge?
Stone Bank.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Thank you, Chief.
I'll make a motion, or you got
no,
more? More questions?
I feel bad for them, and I think if it was my house, the neighbor next to me, if their house was burning, and my driveway got damaged, I would want somebody to help me at least fix it. I mean, I do feel bad for them. But I don't think it should be all on Heartland either. I think if it's gonna be paid for, it should be shared among the departments that were there, including the Stone Bank, department. I don't know. I have mixed emotions on this one.
All right, I'll make a motion to disallow the insurance claim by the Town of Merton resident.
I
as
second.
stated.
It's been moved and seconded to disallow this insurance claim by the Town of Merton resident, for the Town of Merton residents. With that, I guess I just want to add, in knowing that it was, the Heartland Fire Department does not have a choice when they are told to set up. When there is another commander, they do not have, if they really think it's wrong, they can protest, but it's almost unheard of. When there's a commander commanding a scene, our people show up and they do what they're told to, they follow what orders they're given. If we weren't in command in that case, then I do agree with disallowing this. That's just me. That doesn't mean that, I also am empathic for their situation, and I would be calling the municipality that was in charge.
Okay.
I do want to make one quick comment. Assuming this is passed and disallowed, the homeowner could obviously sue us, and at that point, our insurance company would 100% support, defend, and bear all the costs of any lawsuit.
Right.
Correct. It's been moved and seconded. If anybody doesn't have anything else, I'll call the question. All in favor of disallowing? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are, you can keep that one side. That passes to follow the insurance's guidance. It's always weird with the word disallow, but to approve the disallowance. The next item that we have on the agenda is consideration of a motion to enter into contract with Lexipol for updating fire department operating guidelines and procedures.
So, part of my task when I was appointed interim chief was to follow the guidance of the Five Bugles report. This was one of the many parts of the report, and we had actually set, Chief Dean had actually set our two safety officers to going through the SOGs at the time and updating them. They hadn't been updated since 2015, I believe. They came back with updated forms, and I started going through them and already found a number of things that had changed again already and needed to be updated again. In talking with a couple of the chiefs from the area, even the city of Waukesha chief was the one that kind of convinced me on this, but they use Lexipol. He said he could employ 2 guys full-time just to do updates on guidelines and procedures. And this company actually is through our online training program that we have. So every other month we do online training programs, and this company is part of that. So I had contacted them, got some pricing, was a little high that I thought, but for what they do, and then just continued to pursue it. And talking with the chief from City of Waukesha, he says that their insurance company reimburses them to have this Lexipol company do it. So I checked with Lexipol, and they said they were just getting in with the League of Municipalities, and he would get back to me. And when he returned my call, he said that the workers' comp company will reimburse us $2,500 a year to have this updated. So they have a number of tiers of implementation, and then they have a yearly cost, which is the yearly cost is about $3,000. Well, it's $2,070 this year. It'll be $3,900 next year, and that's for them to take our SOGs, look through them, constantly keep updating them as things change, and then sending them out to our membership with a read and report attachment. So once they open it and read it, then it gets reported that this person has read that report and understands it. So there's no coming back and saying, well, I didn't know about that type thing. So that's their yearly fee. The tier implementation is, if you look on the one page, there's a ton of different things that involve the fire service. The tier 1 implementation takes care of the really I don't know how I would report it. Takes care of the high risk policies. Okay, so it's our mission statement, our philosophy and goals, our firefighter code of ethics, or all the way down to member speech, expression, and social networking. So that's that tier 1 implementation. So they'll go all through all those policies, make sure they're up to national standards, state standards, and then send them back to me. I review them with my officers, and then we say okay, or we want to add something, and then it goes out to the membership. So that would be tier 1. They have 5 tiers, and in talking with them and Administrator Rhodey and Ryan, they asked him straight up, well, how many of these tiers do most departments do? And they said 3. If you get into tier 4 and 5, there's things like aircraft operations. God, I hope we never have to do one of those. Just different high-rise incident management. We don't really have that. Wildland fire shelter deployment training. Again, stuff we don't really have or need. So tier 3 would be our max. And I'm just asking for us to get the initial implementation and the tier 1 program for the rest of this year. Said it would take them between 60 and 90 days, and they'll have everything out and ready to go for us.
So it's $2,500 per tier?
No, it's $2,500 a year that we get reimbursed from the league insurance company.
What is it per tier? Yeah.
So normally it's probably around $1,400 a year that would come out of my budget once we get the 3 tiers implemented.
So it's per tier?
No, tiers are different. So it's a
But I mean, the fee is, they charge us
correct. There's
per
a fee for each tier,
so
right?
each fee is another 1,000 or
Correct.
whatever the number.
Yep.
But you can implement the different tiers in different
At
years.
At different
Different
times, right?
stages, yeah.
So we're just looking for that
But the
first.
tier
Just
1
the
is
first
for next year would be 3,900? Is
Uh,
that what you said?
Tier, well, that'll cover the rest of this year, so it'll be implemented this year yet.
Well, you said next year, 2021 would be 3,900, right?
Correct. It'll be 3,900 for the subscription, and then the tiers, the 2 different tiers, again, they just gave us pricing on both, is either 4,113 or 4,228. That's tier 2 and tier 3.
So the annual fee of 3,900 for next year, is that just,
That'll
That's
be
just-
like the normal yearly fee once the tiers are implemented and done with. Then it's just that's all of our, that would be all of our SOGs that we would use.
okay,
And then that's the yearly fee and then minus 2,500, so it's about $1,400.
so then we don't have to pay the tier 1 fee and all?
Nope,
okay.
that's only a
Oh,
one-time
One-time.
payment.
Okay, I
Because
didn't
we're
understand
implementing
that,
Sure.
now I do, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And
this is
that,
great.
in that 5 Bugles report, that will take care of numbers 6 through 9, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Chief. Can I make a motion that we upgrade to the Lexipol for department guidelines and reporting?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to utilize Lexipol for updating fire department operating guidelines and procedures. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. The next item we have is consideration of a motion to approve a contract with Melm's Brewing for operation of a beer garden in Hartbrook Park.
Did you bring samples for us?
Didn't. I didn't know that was allowed. Good evening. Again, my name is Robert Stack. I'm the president of the Malmesbury Brewing Company. With me also tonight is my co-owner and vice president and brewmaster, so he's really the important guy, Brandon Van Epps. Yeah, really, I could put it off on him. That's a good point. So last week, I was with the Parks Committee, and we talked at length there, and they moved to approve it, subject to this board. So we're back here tonight. I think you've heard the story and the plans. Now, what came out of the Parks meeting was they would like, instead of, as we talked last time, we talked about putting the trailer parallel to the structure, and I don't remember if it was this board or Parks, but they would rather have it against the western edge of the parking lot, along with any food trucks along the western edge. There was discussion that food trucks are fine, they've got to comply with the village's requirements, of course, but that if we were going to pursue making food ourselves, Parks would like us to come back to them for permission to do that. I also understand that there's a request that if we decide to go with live music at some point, and I think specifically the discussion centered around Pat McCurdy, that we come back to Parks on that. And the issue with Pat, of course, is that Pat could draw 500 or more people easily, and there was a question as to how do we police that, how do we control the crowd, how do we provide for social distancing and all those things, which are things I don't know the answers to at the moment. And I'm not even sure if Pat's still available for the weekend we'd want. So if we decide to pursue that, we would come back to either the village board or the Parks Commission to pursue that a little more thoroughly before we agreed to do it. So I don't know what other questions there might be for us at this point.
I have a question on parking. That was one of the things that kind of, have you thought about parking issues and with the road construction? Because there's not a lot of places, I don't know, to park there. Can you park on both sides of Ray Drive? And if so, can a car still get through? I mean, because that parking lot's not very big.
I honestly don't know if there's parking on both sides of Ray Drive, because I don't drive down it that often.
There is parking on both sides.
Okay. The parking lot is not big, but I think with us being on the back wall, or the back edge of the parking lot, we take up not a lot of space over there at that point. I think, and this is my gut, but I think a lot of the people are going to be walk-ins. I think because of the apartment complexes there and the residential neighborhood there, I anticipate we'll get a lot of walk-ins from just the neighborhood. There is obviously parking, a fair amount of it, over at, is it Centennial Park on the other side? And that's a walking distance over to there if people needed overflow parking to there, as well as just parking in the area. Once we're approved, I do intend to try and track down the owner of the office building that is across the street on Ray and just ask them if they would allow people to park there in the evenings. I don't want to tell people they can do that until we've talked to the owner, but if I can track down the owner, I would ask their permission to allow that for overflow parking as well in the evening.
Could you also utilize the Sendex parking lot? That's what the whole thing's called now, right? Yeah.
You know, I suppose that would be a question for the owner of the parking, of the property itself. Certainly, that would make sense to me. Again, it's walkable for most people anyway. But I would want to reach out to the owner of the complex first.
If this gets approved tonight, when are you looking at having your first
So
opening?
I went ahead and filed the application with the Department of Revenue to extend our reseller's permit, because that's what we need to do with the state, is we need to get permission to have a second retail location. And so I've filed that permit, anticipating the Friday the 23rd, so the weekend of the 23rd, 4th, 5th of this month. DOR needs 2 weeks' notice, and I just got that to them last Friday, so we've done a bunch of these last year for different beer gardens and different events, so we're known to them. And I'm anticipating that I'll get the response this week yet, but in my mind, that would be the only thing that would really hold us up from going forward on July 23rd.
Okay.
Or 4th, whatever the Friday is.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Obviously, that park is a big park for youth. A lot of youth baseball going on there.
Okay.
T-ball diamonds, as well as, that's about a 4th grade through 5th grade diamonds. So a lot of
Okay.
youth, a lot of kids coming in biking. I got to ask, I mean, you're going to be diligent, paying attention to what you're serving, who you're serving.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I
we're-
have to ask for
Right,
public.
we're very, very diligent about that.
Okay.
We've done several parks last year.
Right.
And
So-
we always had, very good measures in place to ID everybody if we needed to, so.
And again, we'll have soda, we'll have water, and then we'll have beer.
And then clean up too, I mean, you have a process for that, making sure the tables are cleaned up.
Right.
They don't have access to it, okay.
Right, although it's not, I can't say with absolute certainty, it's pretty certain that one of the two of us will be there almost every time that it's open. And then 1 or 2 staff people as well. But our employees are pretty diligent, responsible, mostly grown up. And
Doesn't get too rowdy.
doesn't get too rowdy. So I think everyone will be very cautious about making sure everything is done properly for tear down and clean up.
Great, thank you.
So going off of Trustee Lucky of what she was asking with cleanup and that, I know that at the other beer garden, they also clean the bathrooms now with everything going on. They'll go there every couple hours, is it?
2 hours.
And
Every
that's a
2 hours
provision
and-
in the contract that has been taken back and forth with us, is that we would be responsible, and I don't remember if it's hourly or every 2 hours, but periodically 2 hours, we would need to go in and do a quick inspection and cleanup of the bathrooms as needed.
And you'd have no issue with that, I just,
we clean ours.
Thank goodness, good to know.
So the contract's mimicking the other one, right?
Yes.
The contract is, to the
Yeah.
best of my knowledge, is mimicking the other one, that's correct.
Thank you.
I guess, you want to go ahead?
I know a couple of board members reached out and comments similar to, this is moving pretty quick, this process is moving pretty fast. They were involved in the last time we had a beer garden here, and it was a little bit more of a methodical process, and so I certainly understand the questions, and that's what these fine gentlemen are here to answer. The one question that also came up, and this beer garden, the licensing of this beer garden is essentially much different than other situations. Not good, bad, just different. And the reason is, Melm's has the ability to be a brewer and have a brewer's license, not Milwaukee Brewers like Go Team, but brewers like Bruce a Beer. And that license from the state grants them by default a second location, not a third or a fourth, but a second location. And so they are using this beer garden concept to be their second location. So to a lot of the board members who are very familiar with the Class B and the Class C license that's normally required for these type of events, that is something that isn't required for Melm's, specifically for Melm's, because they are brewers and they are granted that essentially second location. Whereas if we'll just pick a random other bar that might be in the vicinity of Heartland, if they were to do this concept, they would have to come forward and file for a separate Class B, Class C license, or whatever different licenses they wanted to serve. So just a unique feature. We try to address that in the contract to kind of point that out, just because it is different, and if there becomes a third or a fourth or whatever, we just want to be able to point to that section that is pretty unique, so.
And I had some conversation, email exchanges with Commissioner Rhodey, and it's not even a matter of we don't want to get one or we don't need to get one. The reality is we can't have a Class B license. The statute is very specific. As the holder of a brewer's notice and being licensed as a brewery, we are prohibited from holding a Class B or Class C license. If we were a brew pub, we could get a Class B license. However, we don't qualify as a brew pub because in order to be a brew pub, you have to have restaurant facilities, and we don't have that. So we can only be a brewery based on how we're currently structured, and the code is very specific that we're not allowed to have a Class B. And as a matter of fact, if either of us got a Class B, we could potentially lose our brewer's notice at that point. So it's convoluted, but we're not trying to be difficult or smug. We can't have it.
I got a question. No, if neither guys are there, do you have to have a licensed bartender? I mean, every other place that sells beer has to have somebody, do you have a license?
Yes, if neither of us is there, then there has to be a licensed bartender there.
So if you're there, you're considered the licensed bartender.
Right.
So you don't have to have, so if you guys aren't there, like you said, sometimes you're not gonna be there, there's not gonna be a license.
Everybody that works for us has a bartender's license.
They already been approved? and
You
gone
approved
through our
one of them
system?
tonight on a renewal,
Okay.
Mr. Barris. But yeah, everybody that works for us has one.
Okay, so you're gonna always have at least a licensed
Absolutely,
person there
Oh, yeah.
responsible for their service.
absolutely.
I have a question. So, under the contract that you had and is in front of us, under other provisions, on 6, it talks about the tables. So you're comfortable with paying for the cost of the materials for extra tables if those are needed from our DPW?
Right, and I think the conversation went that, DPW is not gonna suddenly show up and say, here's 5 new tables and you owe us $1,000. But that if, once we see how this goes, it becomes determined that there are additional tables needed, that's something that we have to sort out and pay for. Yes, we understand that.
Okay.
The reality is, if that's the case, we're probably doing well enough to make it worthwhile to do that,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I was thinking.
So-
How many seats do you think you'll want to offer right away, or you're not sure?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think, so the beer gardens that we had last year, we didn't have but maybe 10 picnic tables in those general vicinities. Had a lot of people with blankets and you know, spread out just a blanket and do a picnic kind of thing. Some people brought lawn chairs if they wanted to have them. So we sort of have to see what people do. Honestly, if they're walking down from the apartments, they may very well bring chairs or blankets. This is kind of new for us to do a weekly event like this.
I have a question for Administrator Rhodey. So we're comfortable with it's for the whole park, so, you know, mom and dad are down watching a baseball game, they can walk over, they can get a beer and then go back to the field and watch their kid play?
That's what we allow.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that for the
So
public.
you are
Okay.
able to open carry in the park.
Okay. That's all my questions. Cool. You just can't.
In my opinion, and nothing with Melms, I think it takes some more time and to get this thing going next year, and that's kind of where I'm gonna fall on this, but also the amount that, the other beer garden pays is $500 a week. This is $375 a week. If DPW were to show up with 5 tables, it would be approximately $200, cause that's what they were at the other place. I'm just letting you know it is, cause having DPW build them, that's pricey. But I think with going through COVID and going through everything we're going through and not enough time and looking and studying at this, it's my understanding even at Park Board that there wasn't a ton of comments. I mean, you guys were there willing to answer questions. There just wasn't a lot of questions from them. I think more has to be looked at this from not only the village perspective of what's best for the village, but also it sounds like, I get the feeling that you're saying you just want to feel it out. And I think, in my opinion, I suggest doing some events where you can get the park permits to do a couple of those events and see how it goes, and that might gear up for really being able to get to look towards doing it next year. But with what we're going through, and with the charge being less than the other one, I don't think that would be fair or appropriate in my mind. But I think gearing up to try to get ready for next year might be a good idea with doing the studies. There's a lot of unknowns, it sounds like, right now.
May I address the fee?
Sure.
The fee was, we were originally approached with the $500 a week fee. We had responded with a request for consideration because the other park is open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so 4 days, and we'll only be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the $375 rate was basically just saying, okay, 3 days instead of 4 at $125 a day. That's where that came from. If we were open 4 days, we would certainly expect to pay the same rate that they are paying. So that's where that came from.
I'm just saying they pay it per week.
Sure.
Police chief, do you have any questions or comments on this? No? No concerns?
I think you addressed one of my major concerns would be the parking, especially with the construction on Sunnyslope. There's not gonna be a lot of parking in that area. There's some street parking. There will be, I'm sure, like, has been reported, a lot of walk-up traffic, but people do tend to drive and they gotta park their cars somewhere. It sounds like that parking lot will be awfully busy, in addition to whatever else is going on in the park. So that's probably gonna be our biggest concern.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? If someone wants to make a motion, you can.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract from Melm's Brewing for operation of a beer garden in Hartbrook Park.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for Melm's Brewing to have the beer garden at Hartbrook Park. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. That motion carries. That motion passes. The next, thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That did pass. You know, okay. Yep. Oh, no, I just wanted to make sure you knew it passed.
We'll be in touch.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve contractor's application for payment number 4 for the Sunnyslope Drive utility improvements in the amount of $220,675.60.
I'm coming before you on behalf of Musson Brothers. They're seeking a application payment for work completed on Sunnyslope Drive with water and sewer main. I will give you a status on that. The first half of the water main is completed. We will charge it and do back T samples, and then we'll hook up those buildings on the west side of Sunnyslope to that. On the sanitary side, they ran sanitary all the way from Ray Drive, and they're up to Walgreens. They are getting ready to approach into Merton Avenue. So at this point, the village of Heartland is satisfied with the work completed. We recommend the payment to Musson Brothers, Inc. to the sum of $220,675.60.
I'll move that we make the payment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contractor's application for payment number 4, $220,675.60.
On this note,
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Mr. Faulkner, the floor is yours. That motion passes. Now you may have the floor.
On that note, I want to talk to you about Merton Avenue construction and closure. That closure will happen July 20th. I just want to inform everybody that we put a map, the detour map, up on the screen so everybody can see it.
Can you give 2 minutes?
Absolutely.
So it's in announcements?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just to stay with, this will take just a second. You
That
can
is
stay
fine.
right there. Stay right there.
All right.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is consideration of board, commission, and committee appointments as presented by village president. I have 3 of them. For the library board, we have Jay Williams. That is for a term that will go until April 30th, 2022. On the Ice Age Trail Committee, this is for Christina Callies and David Vandeven. These also are terms that go till April 30th, 2022. If someone did want to only approve some but not others, or if the board doesn't, you could split them up if needed, but I just read all that I have.
I make the motion we approve the appointees as read by President Pfannerstill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve those 3 appointments to those boards. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Please
Those are
thank them for their
approved.
volunteerism.
Huh?
Please thank them for their volunteerism. Stepping
Thank
up.
you for your, I will. We have announcements, Mr. Faulkner.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So what we did here is I gave you a copy of the letter that was sent out to all the residents in River Meadow subdivision, Hilger subdivision, all the businesses on Merton Avenue and Hartbrook Drive. In this letter, it details that we will be shutting down Merton Avenue starting July 20th for 10 days. And on the back of the letter, we have a detour map. So this detour map was okayed by Waukesha County Highway. And our engineers came up with it. So I just want to inform everybody that is going to happen as of July 20th, and the billboards are up as we speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's gonna be great, Dave.
Other announcements?
The street dance is this Saturday. They've put a lot of work into it, trying to make different, with the new situation that's going on, different ways to make everyone safe, social distancing, to be kind, to just have a good time and get out there. So hopefully you will come to the street dance this Saturday.
Any other announcements? Chief, if you could for a second, I'm gonna ask you, I know we get what are called active cases. I know I'm totally catching you just coming in from the angle here. Active cases versus reported cases. I'm not sure how the county distinguishes the difference there. Someone brought to my attention that they thought the information being put out was wrong because they saw that there's 32 reported cases and there's only 11 right now active cases. Would you be able to touch on that? If you know, I don't know what the difference is. but-
Absolutely. So we have one public health officer for the entire county. His agency does the contact tracing and determines who's a confirmed case, and then ultimately when they're released. Confirmed case would be your active case. It's confirmed. They're now in isolation during that time period until they get better on a volunteer basis, and then public health would take it from there if they were to start not voluntarily isolating within their residence. Once they're determined to be released or have gotten better from COVID-19, then they would be a release case. So it'd still count towards the total count, like that 31 or 32 number that you referenced, but it wouldn't be active in that they no longer are testing positive for the COVID-19. Only the people that are still positive or have not been released from the isolation would go towards that active count. And then everyone since back in March when this started would go towards that total count. So I believe you're correct, it's like 32 cases or so total since March.
Yep.
But as we sit today, we're in that 11 or 12 active case mark. I want to say, unfortunately, when we were walking down, I got a notice that I believe there's 2 more coming. But I got to double check that because sometimes they send us addresses that are Heartland mailing, but not always in the village of Heartland. So I always like to just confirm that before giving the positive news or
Yep.
that that's an actual confirmed case.
Thank
So
you.
those are the differences, and it is very overwhelming for our public health just because they don't have the everyday staff to be tracking this, so they're bringing people in to try to assist with that, training other county staff to assist them from other departments. And it seems like the active cases are notified a little quicker, and should, because that's the one you really want to know about, than the releases. That's kind of, as they have time, they try to clean that up and get that information to us.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
So on that note, I guess everybody should just keep being vigilant, keep being safe, and doing what they can. But even with the amount that we have now, I think that everybody in Heartland is doing a very good job, even out and about. I see a lot of people at Piggly Wiggly and stuff with masks on and that kind of thing. Out at the parks, people have been spacing out, I think. We just keep on doing what we do, but being safe. Any other announcements? Well, then we would entertain a motion.
We adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded.
I'm sorry. Make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You want to restate?
Gotcha. My fault. That's my fault. It's been moved and seconded. We don't have to kill that. We can just let it die, right? Or do we have to vote it down?
Nope, I would just.
Making sure.
Do you guys rescind your motion because of the president's error?
I'll rescind my motion.
Yeah, okay. All right. So now we have a consideration of a motion to recess to closed session pursuant to 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for a governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, and to adjourn thereafter without reconvening into open session pursuant to 19.852.
I'll make a motion to recess into closed session pursuant of 1985 1G.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Anson.
Aye.
Trustee Duro.
Aye.
Trustee Myers.
Aye.
Trustee Walshiger.
Aye.
Trustee Ledke.
Aye.
Trustee Connor.
Aye.
President Pfannerstill.
All right. So at this time, we'll go into closed session, and everybody have a great week.